Okay, let's start with component thing. Yes. So as we discussed prior, that component is the basic core thing in AEM. So a page in a page in AEM is basically created by using collection of components. So we place multiple components on the page, and that actually forms the content on the page. So every component has its own set of styling, has its own set of ways of working, and also a component works totally independent of the other component. So in case if anything breaks in one of the component, then it doesn't matter to the other components. Only that portion or only that component will break. So it's totally independent. That's the good part. Okay. So last time we discussed that all the code that we create will be stored inside the apps hierarchy, and all the code that Adobe out of box provides sits inside the libs hierarchy. So libs is where Adobe code is stored, apps is where our code is stored. So everything that you will do, everything, each and everything is being stored inside the apps. We have conf, we discussed conf is where you create your templates, editable template, plus some configurations. Like from configuration, I mean that integration configuration for connecting to any Adobe third-party tool like Adobe Analytics or Adobe means like other Adobe Campaign or Adobe Launch, Adobe everything, like all those configuration or any CAPTCHA, all those configurations are being stored inside the conf hierarchy. Then we have content where the whole content, experience, fragment, assets are being stored. Home is where you store your users and groups. So all the users and groups are stored inside the home. We discussed about this. Oak index is where you store our indexes. So basically, like we can perform any search in AEM. So internally, AEM makes the use of Lucene indexes. So all those indexes are stored below the awk index node. Okay. So we have where, we discuss about where is where you can store some of your content, like any this from some APIs or something like that can be stored inside the hierarchy. So a temporary storage, you can say. A temporary storage is where hierarchy. Now coming back to components. So we created a project with the name sample. So here you would see you have this sample folder, and below sample folder you have a lot of other things. One of them is components. So here when we create a project from scratch, it provides us with a set of out of default or out of box components to take reference from. Okay, so these are all the components. You can see all these are components, because if I click on any of the node, like below this is accordion. So if you would see, like in Java, we have data types. In C, every language has some data type, which basically helps us in identifying what type of data or what type of value that variable can store. Similarly, these we discussed, these are called as node or resources. So every node or every resource also has a property that uniquely identifies what type of node is it. So here you can see every node will have a property JCR primary type, which identifies what type of node is it. And if you see, the value of this is CQ component, which indicates that this is a component node. Okay. So every node, every resource or every node in AEM would have a JCR primary type, which indicates JCR primary type, which indicates what type of node is it. Okay. You can see there are a lot of out of box, like you can say out of box or scratch like components which are provided from when you create your project. Plus, Adobe also provides its set of own core components. We call them as core components, because Adobe provides them by default, and you can take the reference from them and create your own component. So what Adobe is saying these days is that you should not prefer creating the whole custom component by yourself, but make the use of core component that we provide, and by taking the reference of those, create your components. So if I go below the apps, here we have the core folder, core WCM components. So you can see there are so many. This is the hierarchy, apps core WCM components, where all the core components provided by Adobe sits. All the component core, these are called as core component. And Adobe says that you do not create the component from scratch, but every functionality that you try to build in AEM can be used or can be created by using one of these core components. So if you plan to create any component, just go through this list, because you will be able to find a matching component as per your requirement and use that component to customize or create it as per your need, or customize it as per your need, as per your requirement. Okay. So these are called as core component. If you want to understand what all multiple core components provided, just search core components in AEM. It will give you a whole list of, and you can search it inside GitHub. Okay, so it will give you the whole list of core components which Adobe provide, which you can take for your reference. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I just come back.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Actually, I'm today my health is a bit down. So yes.
Oh, okay. You wanted to cancel it? It's okay. If you're not.
I will take this tomorrow.
Okay. So just one question. So you said under libs also we have a core components, right? Out of the box components.
Under apps, we have it. Like here you see.
Under libs as well, right?
Those are foundation components. Like if you find this core WCM component below libs, let me go. So see here, we do not have that core components. See, either it will be what they have done is on Adobe Cloud, they place it inside libs, but till 6.5, what you can do is you can download it from here inside from the GitHub, in case if your instance does not have it by default, and then you can install it. Like here, you will get it over here. Code, you can get it code, or you can clone it or download zip, and it will, and then you will install it. But till 6.5, it installs, or you can see this below the apps folder.
Just one thing, under commerce, the libs commerce, was seeing some, yep, under commerce.
Commerce?
Yep. I'm not sure.
No, yeah. These are core components. These are foundation components.
What is the difference?
Yeah. So see, there's no difference. These are also components, and below the apps we get the core. Those are also components. It's just that the core components are the latest one which Adobe has provided. These are the latest, and these are according to the latest. You can say, yeah, means you can say that as per the latest requirement or as per the latest standards. These are the core components. The one below libs, those are very old or those are from the starting, you can say, or now the any enhancement that are being made, those are being done inside the core component, which are below the apps.
Mhm.
Okay, on Adobe as a cloud, you do not found these below the apps, but these sits below the libs hierarchy only, the core components.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So while developing component, there are three major things that you have to develop. One is dialog, other is the HTML, and the third is the Java. So dialog is a user interface that is being provided to the authors, so that authors can change the text or image or the content on the end website by providing their inputs through the dialog. So dialog is a way to get input from the authors. Then on the basis of that input, the HTML would read those input and would display the content, and any business logic that has to be performed, then that is being performed at the backend by using the Java. So from dialog we get the inputs, then HTML will read those inputs and will render it on the page, plus any business logic that has to be performed. That for that, from HTML a call will be made to the Java, and the Java will do the business logic, or anything behind the scene will perform the business logic. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we have a lot of components. Let's do one thing. To create any new component, never ever work like from scratch. You can do it like if you want, you can create a component, like just right click and create node, and here you can give what was the primary type. It was CQ comp. Okay, so you can select this like components and then just give a name, whatever the name that you want for the component, and your component will be created by default basic default files. But that is not the best way to work with. Always, when you have to work with components, always prefer using the copy pasting thing. Always, even Adobe always or documentation also says the same thing, that if you want to work, if you want to use or create any new component, do not do it from scratch, but make the use of out of box one. Copy it, paste it in your hierarchy, and customize it as per your need. That's it. So here, consider we have this, okay, we have this hello world, which has this dialog. So this CQ colon dialog is the dialog node. Plus, here you can see the HTML. This is the HTML. Here we can see the two things. So here what I will do is I will copy this and I will create my own component by just simple copy and pasting. So here, let me rename it to sample word, from hello world to sample word. Okay. Now my component with the name sample one is ready, but here, just go back. Yeah. So here, let me update the title as well. Since the title of the component I copied from the hello world, so here let me rename it to sample word component. Okay.
Yes.
Here it is the dialog node. So the dialog node. Okay. First thing, we will start working on the component, but before that, important thing is that the name of the component should match with the HTML inside the component.
Mhm.
So there can be multiple HTMLs inside the component, but there should be at least one HTML whose name should match with the name of the component. So when this component will be called, automatically that HTML will be called, which will have the same name as the component. So here within HTML, we can call multiple HTMLs. We can do that, but there should be at least one HTML whose name should match the name of the component. If that's not the case, then none of the HTML will be called and no operation will be performed. Okay, so the component, of course, will not work. You will keep on getting the inputs to the dialog, but nothing will be performed because no HTML will be called. So here the name of our component is sample word. So of course we have to rename. Okay, I have to save it. Yeah. And now let me rename it. So this will be sample word. because the name of my component is sample word. So my HTML name should also be sample word. Okay.
So you mean like under sample word component, we can have other HTML with other name, right?
Sorry, come again.
Like under sample word component, we can have one more multiple HTML with other names, right?
Yes, yes, of course, you can have multiple HTMLs.
But,
so here, like we can have sample word 1, sample word 2, sample word 3.
but what is the use actually?
Yes, so see, if consider the component is there and there is some complex code, some big HTML that has to be written, or there is a whole load of big HTML code that has to be written. So writing in a single HTML is, of course, will be problematic for the other developers to understand. So best way is that you create a parent. From there you can do the styling or structuring, and then the inner HTML can be created inside the other HTML, and then it can be statically included inside your main HTML. Okay. Like we do in Java. Like in Java, we create the main class. From there we call we further create an utility where we write the functions, and then we call that utility and call the functions inside that utility. Okay.
We will have this later, right? Like, I mean, like one sample. Okay.
For sure. When we will come to the HTML, that is slightly, we will understand it.
Okay.
So firstly, let's understand with this dialog. So the dialog property node should always have the name as CQ colon dialog. Always remember this, it cannot have another name. Like if you think that, okay, dialog name can also be sample word or anything, that can never be the case. The dialog name should always be CQ colon dialog. Okay.
Yes.
Structure the dialog. Do not worry how does the structure is built. Always use the copy pasting technique. You have a lot of components which have a lot of dialog. Always copy one of the component which will have dialog in it and just change it as per your need. You do not need to understand what the structure is doing. You do not need to understand it. It's the dialog. And firstly, let us see what this dialog is doing. We have created our component with the name sample word. And there is another property that is component group. I will also tell you what is this. So then we will discuss about the dialog. So this component group is grouping of dialog. So you have a number of components. So you can group your components as per some like this name. So here we created multiple components. Like if you click on this navigation, so here you can see the group of this is sample project structure. Okay, let me click on this. This is also, yeah. So see, this is sample project content, the one that we created. If I click on tabs, this is also sample project content. Now, if I open the page, any of the page from our website, yeah, let me edit this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me, yeah, you can see this grouping sample project content. So this is the name that is coming from this component group. So what we have done is we have created a grouping of components by using the name. So there are some components which belong to this group, sample project content, and maybe there may be some other group. Yeah, you can see sample project form. So there is a component which belongs to this group. Okay.
Yeah.
So the component that we created was sample word component. So here you can see it is appearing. It was under the group which was sample project content. So our component is over here. Let me just select this. You can say it pasted something. Great. Now if I click on this screw icon, you can see it opened up a dialog for me which has this text field.
Yes.
if I go inside this, inside the dialog of this, you can see it has some structure, and the end node is this node, which has some property with the name field label, name, and resource type. Okay.
Yeah.
So here you can see that there is a text field. How this text field is appearing? With the help of this property, or with the help of this node. Here we said, okay, this is the node. Okay, so every field inside a dialog, like see, this is a dialog and this is a field inside a dialog. So every field inside a dialog would be of particular type, like either it can be text field, or either it can be a number field, or either it can be radio, or either it can be a checkbox, or a lot of other fields, other type of field, like maybe some path field, or maybe like any other type of field. So to have those fields in your dialog, we have to provide the necessary property. So string resource type, and what I said is that the value of this is this. So through this, the dialog identifies that it is a text field type of property. Here you can see that it's a text field, and the label that is coming is text. This label is coming because there is a property that is field label. Like if I update this field label to sample text, just save it and refresh my page. You can see the text updated, the text got updated.
Yeah.
Okay. So this way we can create any number of fields. Like here you have a text field. Similarly, just copy it and paste it below this. So this was a text, and let me rename it to okay, let's say this is last name. Okay, and let's say this was my rename it to, this is just, these are just node name. Okay, like what I'm updating now, this is my first name. Okay, let me update this as well. So let me update it to first name. Okay, and this is also, I will tell you the purpose of this name property. This is pretty important. I will tell you the purpose of this. Okay, similar way I have this, and let me update it as last name, and name here also. Okay. So what I said is, inside my dialog, I have two fields. One is the first name, the node name is first name, whose label is this, name property is this, and it should be of type text field. Always remember that we have to give the property whose name will be string resource type and value will be this. You do not need to remember that this will be the whole value. By the time you will go, you will know that, okay, this will be the value. Then you just copy paste the thing. You do not need to remember that, okay, oh, the path will be granite UI component. This is not at all needed. Just remember that if you need a path field or if you need a text field, just try to search for a component which will have this sort of field and copy paste the things. Okay. Let me copy this again and paste it over here, and let's rename it to age. Okay. So age, and let me give it age over here and over here as well. So here, since age is not text field, it is a number field. So since I know that the for number field, the path is same. As of now, I know this, but I will tell you how I get to know. Okay. For these three fields, let me just to check this, I will refresh the page and let's see if my dialog is updated with these or not. Yeah. So here, if I open my dialog, you can see my first name is coming, my last name is coming, and there is some age also coming, which is a number field. You can see here I cannot input any text. Here I'm trying to input any text, but it is not accepting it.
Yeah.
Okay. In the first name I can enter anything. In the last name also I can enter anything. Okay. In the age I can only enter like 20 or something. Some text is what I can enter. Okay. So along with these, let me just copy this and let's create some other field. Let me just paste it and let's rename it to photo. Okay, and here this is my photo. Okay, and since you have to select a photo and that photo or that pic will be inside the DAM hierarchy, so for that you need a path field. So I will say instead of number, it will be a path field. Now if I show you, just let me refresh this. Okay, you can see there's a photo and you can see it opened up a panel where you can select the photo from inside your content and then inside the DAM, like assets, and then you can select the necessary photo that you wanted. Inside the sample project, we selected the download.jpg. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, firstly, before going further, let me just tell you a few important things. Okay, so here we created a different type of node or resources inside the dialog, and through this we defined that okay, whether it will be a text field or whether it will be a number field or whether it will be a path field or it can be of any other type. Basically, through resource type, link colon resource type, it is identified what type of field inside the dialog it is going to be. So here, what we this whole thing you would see it is some sort of path. Okay.
Mhm.
Always remember that all these paths which are mentioned are all relative path. These are always relative path. So
Mhm.
you yourself have to see. So somewhere the code for these will be written. Like here you can see I gave the resource type as this text field, and automatically this text field is coming. Similarly, the age is a number field that is coming. This
Yeah.
what I simply gave is that photo is a path field, and automatically this whole path field is coming. Now, by giving this resource type as this, how this path field is coming? Because there is some code written at this particular path which is responsible for rendering this path field or this number field or this text field. So there is some code that is being written, and always remember whenever there is a path, it will, if it's a relative path, then you have to convert it into an absolute path. So by default, what AEM does is whenever it will try to resolve a path, it will try to search firstly, it will try to search inside the apps hierarchy. So inside the apps, I will paste this path, and you see there is no such path inside the apps hierarchy. AEM does not find the code written inside the apps hierarchy, then it will try to search for the second time inside the libs hierarchy. So what I'm going to do is, instead of apps, I will try to see if there is some code written for this behind the inside the libs hierarchy. And here you will see, yes, there is a code written over here. So you can see this whole code is being written, which is responsible for just rendering this field. You know, so for this much code is being written. Similarly, you can see there is a number field. So here, this render.jsp is written that is responsible for rendering this number field. Similarly, if I scroll up, there should be a text field. Oh, it's down. You can see text field.
Mhm.
So you can see these, there are a lot of type of fields that you can use within AEM, like color field, checkbox, button, autocomplete. Here you can see text area. Like if I go back to my component, okay, let me just copy this and let me paste inside over here. Okay, let me rename it to hobbies. Okay, let me save this, and over here hobbies, Okay, and let me do it to text area. How did I know this is that there is a text here? Because here I was able to see there is a text area. Similarly, if you wanted to create a user group or if you wanted to create any checkbox, then you can do it. Okay, like here I have this text area, and if I refresh it, so here you would see in a minute that there will be an hobbies with text area that would be created as part of this dialog. So you can see hobbies, and this is a text area.
Mhm.
Again, in the same way, if you want to create a drop down, so for that we have a select. So here you would see there is a select that is responsible for having a drop down. So here, let me just try to see. So see, in case if you want to use select, so there would be some options as well. So since I do not know how to exactly make the use of text, see, I know how to use this select as well. That is a drop down. But for you to know, how would you actually, like if you want to see a sample code that, okay, how this select will work or how is this select working, what you can do is you just have the path. Now you know where the code for this is written. So somewhere in maybe, of course, a lot of out of box component would be using this select. It is the drop down. So just copy this path, copy this relative path, and just try to search it inside AEM like I'm doing. So here it will give you many of the components which are using the this select. So here what you can do is like let me just go inside any of the component, any of the random component. So here you can see I'm just what I wanted is this, and here you can see, okay, this is not because the resource type is different in this case. This was some show if empty.
Mhm.
I want this content path, email description, Friday redirect. Just let's see if there is some select. I'm trying to see. Okay, yeah, priority. So yes, here you can see the priority one is this. So let's just copy this. I copied it and let's paste inside our component. Paste. Okay. Okay, one more thing. Always remember, never ever change anything inside the libs hierarchy. The libs hierarchy where Adobe code is stored, never ever change inside that. Okay? Because in case if you accidentally change that, and see, if anything goes wrong and you forget to revert your change inside libs hierarchy, then maybe the instance can get corrupted. Because you once anything gets changed inside the libs hierarchy, it's like manually only it can be reverted. It's not that through code or by default after restarting the things will start working or things will get reverted. Okay?
Mhm.
Never ever change anything directly inside the libs hierarchy. Okay? So here I have this, and let me update this as, so this was the label is task priority. So I see, even I am not like I'm like it's like that you do not need to remember how this internally works or how do you exactly use this. Just try to see which component is making the use of this particular type field and copy paste it from there. Or the best is to copy paste the whole component and make the changes as per your need. Okay.
Yeah.
Now if I refresh it, here if I refresh it and open the component, here you can see there is a task priority that has come up and it's a drop down. Let me just maximize this.
Mhm.
Task priority is high, medium, low, and it's a drop down. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of there are a lot of these type of fields you can say like the sling resource type which are available, and as per your need, basically the author's need, you can create or design your dialogue as per the author's need. Okay. Like here, this is the first name. Of course, you want that the first name and last name should be mandatory. So there is a by default property that is required and Boolean, and that is true. So what I said is that first name, and similarly, let me place it over here as well. So over here, both first name and last name is mandatory. Okay, inside age, what I said is that the age cannot be less than less than 0, of course. So we also have
Nice.
yeah, max value, or is it max? I don't remember.
I think it's max only.
Okay. See, I tell you a solution in case if you want, if you do not, if you miss, and like if you don't know, then what you can do is you can go inside the component. So here I have the component. Just go inside the component, and inside the component you will always. So it's not component, basically the field, and you will find a render.jsp. Just open that, and at the top it will give you a description about this component. So here, if I scroll down, you can see you can have these all properties as part of component. That is name, value, disable, type in, and here you can have the value as min and max. So min and max actually tells us what can be the minimum or the maximum value that can be a part of this number field. So this is an easy way that you can directly go inside the component and you can know what will be the min and what will be the max value. I will use min, and this will be a double. Okay, and min value should be 1. Okay, and max value. Okay, something like 200. Okay, I just saved it. Let me just refresh the component. Okay, you can see now these two are mandatory. Here you can see then there is an asterisk sign. And also in age, if I add a number like 220, you can see there is an error. Please enter a value that is no more than 200. And similarly, if I enter a value like -9, it will also give me an error. Please enter a value that is no less than 1. By
Can
default,
we change these error messages?
for that, you have to write a custom validation. So there is a validation framework. You can use that validation framework and you can perform your custom validation instead of using the out-of-box one. So what you have to do is there is a validation framework. So you have to, like, basically behind the scene there is a jQuery that you need to execute. So you have to write a JS where you will write the jQuery and you have to assign a unique ID to this age field. Like if I do inspect for this, so here, if I inspect this, okay, so this is the input field. And now you have to assign some unique ID or unique class. Based on that, you have to perform the validation.
So there is a code actually for this, right? Because it already have something like validation. So can we find that and like take a sample from that? We can, right?
Yes. So see, if I go over here, so they have some validation. I see I'm looking into the code only. So maybe there is some validation, this data foundation validation. So they are using their own set of validation. But in case if you want to perform your custom validation, then what you can do is like granite here in this age field. If you want to perform, first thing what you have to do is you have to give a unique class to it, so that when you are writing the JS, that is your validation JS, there you can identify at least this class. So what I'm going to do is I'm using a field like granite class, and here I'm saying that the value for this, okay, it will be string, and value is sample age. Okay, sample age. So here what I said is that I'm assigning a unique class name to this field. Now here as of now there is a class, there are number of class, but these class are all all out-of-box classes, which of course will be available on other fields as well, because these are all out-of-box, which is not particularly unique to this field.
So we can only give class name, right? Not ID.
Sorry, your voice break. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. We can give only class name, right? Not ID.
We can give ID, I think, but I'm not sure how we can. I can search on that. Maybe I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yes, we can give class, or we can also give the data, like data hyphen, those also type of attribute as well. So here, if I search, you can see.
I think the name.
It will be over. It should be over here. Let's see. Yeah, here you can see sample age. This is the class. Okay, so here this is the whole the whole from age to this number. So here is this age number.
Yeah.
So now basis of this, you can see if there is some value that has been inputted. If no, then you can show some error message. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Similarly, like we have a number of out-of-box, like checkbox, we have radio button. Okay. So here, always remember it will be of type CQ component. Since it's a component, there can be a number of fields. The best way to create a component is always make the use of copy pasting. Just take the reference from some of the existing component and use any of the field. Use in any field. Okay, like now consider if you want to use checkbox. So again, what you can do is, like here you have this. Like here you have this. Just let's copy this and try to search some code for checkbox. So here instead of select, I will write checkbox, and let me see here. Okay, you can see the checkbox field is over here. They have a lot of field. Let's try to see some other as well, which may have some minimum fields. Yeah. Okay, this is also a bit. Let's try to see something inside some other one. Anything you can use like this. Okay, let's use this one. Let's not. Okay, let me just copy this. We will remove the all unnecessary properties, and let me go back to my component and over here, and let's paste it. Okay, and the label is this. I do not need these. These I can delete. Okay. And since it's a checkbox, render type, I don't know. And here I will have the title, which will be like this. Okay, and name is. Okay. So if I go and refresh my. Yeah. If I open my component, just maximize this. Okay, I think there is some issue. I did not give it correctly. Okay. Yes, there is some issue because yes. So this actually is not the correct one. We were trying to find this one. Let's just see any of the. Yes, this one looks good. Let me just copy this and go back to my, where is my output? Yes, here is it. And let's just remove this publish and paste it over here. Okay. And here, okay, let me see if are we in the right track. Are we on the right track or not? Okay. There's still the checkbox is not coming. Let me see what is the issue. Let's try to see in some of the out-of-box component. How is this checkbox? What is that? Let's not spend more time with it. Let's try it by ourselves. So this boolean is source type. Okay. So this is also not correct actually. Just a minute.
Okay, I think I know what is the resource type. It's Granite UI Components Coral Foundation Form Checkbox.
Yes, that's what we use, but the rest of the properties I was just looking for.
The rest is primary type is unstructured, field labels with description, name, text, and value.
Yes, let me just copy one of these and remove this. And let's paste it. Let's rename it to some checkbox. Okay, and we know the primary type for this is this.
Yeah.
So let me paste it over here. And let me put some title. Checkbox and checkbox and checkbox. Okay, pretty simple. And this title also has to be there. Just refresh it. Yeah, so it's here, but the name is not coming up. I think. Let's do the best thing. Just
maybe I think text is called text.
okay, so it's text. Okay.
I'm not sure.
Are you sure, or should I look?
I think so. And there is also another thing, value.
It's text.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So this way basically you can suppose create the dialog of the component. So here we have the checkbox. So this way you can create the dialog. You can use multiple type of resource type to create the dialog. So basically resource type gives you a relative part to your component, and then using that you can go to your, like using the resource type, you can go to the code of the component and you can try to find out, and or in case if you want to do some customization. Okay, I will tell you about this later, customization. But yeah, this way you can find out the code written behind this checkbox or text field or everything. Always remember, since it's an AEM provided code, so of course it will sit inside the libs hierarchy. But all the paths are relative. So firstly, when AEM tries to convert that relative into absolute, it firstly tries to prepend it with apps hierarchy. Since it does not find any code written inside the apps hierarchy, then it will go inside the libs hierarchy. So there is a series defined, and there is a configuration for that, where this sequence is defined that okay, firstly search inside the apps and then search inside the libs, which we will discuss later. How this sequence is being defined. Where is this sequence defined? Okay.